Well, vulnerability is weakness. So in textbooks, Brainy asked a team of special force soldiers if they could think of an example of courage in their life or someone else's life that did not require uncertainty, risk, or emotional exposure. And there was a long silence. Eventually, a young man stood up and said, "Three tours, ma'am. There's no courage without vulnerability." So can you think of a single example of courage that you have witnessed in your life or a friends or colleagues that did not require uncertainty, risk, or emotional exposure? I do not think you can. There's no courage without vulnerability. For example, we buy into some methodology about vulnerability being weakness and being gullibility and being fertile because it gives us permission not to do it. Most people are raised to believe that courage is an important value. Unfortunately, if you took a survey on the street and asked if the person were raised to believe that vulnerability is weakness, I'm sure that a large percentage would say in the affirmative. I most certainly was raised to believe that vulnerability is weakness, whereby, deliberately or not, I am a man, woman raised in 90, where you were not supposed to be a wuss, where you are always competing with your mates to one up them and never show a chink in your emotional and physical armor. Hear the paradox: be brave, but never put yourself out there. It does not exist. For the second myth, I don't do vulnerability. Yes, you do. From the moment you slip down the birth canal to whatever point you are in your life now, you have faced
Okay.
uncertainty.
Let's discuss one at a time.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Anybody want to share about myth one?
Okay, maybe I talk first. Hello, no one want to talk. Nothing much to share actually, but what I can say is, hey, I use.
Jeremy, how come you're so soft?
Huh? Very soft. Hello. Like this, like this better.
Now better.
Oh,
Just
sorry.
now very soft.
Oh, no
You're
one.
so far away.
No one say. I don't know. Okay. Sorry. Now better. Huh? No.
Yes.
What I try to share is, I think I used to think the myth one before, you know, to be honest, last time. But even sometimes now also, sometimes I also will think that way lah. But I don't know why it's like, maybe it's personal security problem lah. Or I don't know. I used to think this way lah, so I don't know whether now lesser, but sometimes yes, still there. Sometimes on something lah. So for me, my thinking is like this lah. Maybe you can correct me if I'm. For me, it's like it's not right or wrong lah. No right or wrong right. If for me to think this way, right? Correct me if I'm wrong lah. I'm still stand with this point lah. That's it lah. That's it.
Very good. Other people? Then how should you think? This is very important. Why I want to generate discussion is because we need to know how to think about vulnerability, because the way we think is the one that create problem. Always bear in mind, it's the way we think that leads to issue lah. Whenever we have issue, when we encounter something and then we struggle, then what is the cause of it? It's the way we think. And honestly, for men, I presume for men more than for women. I don't know how many of you, but I feel that for men, we are taught that no, we must be we must be like Iron Man.
We must be tough.
Tough. And that's why vulnerability is reflects a little bit of weakness. That means the it's like the skin no longer iron. Now vulnerability, that's why The opposite thinking is that we are supposed to be strong. Bullet shoot also cannot penetrate, you know. I mean, the common is in the old saying among Chinese, right? You lao huyết唔流淚 you bleed also, you don't cry. Now a similar reflection is that you bleed also, don't show your weakness. Right? Don't show your weakness. Don't show that you are scared. Don't show that you are you are uncertain. You feel weak. But yet, I mean, vulnerability is to admit that you feel weak. Vulnerability is to recognize the uncertainty, to recognize the weakness. So I'm just wondering how much this is true with our thinking. Then what should be our thinking?
Add on.
How should we think?
So you say first, Never, you say first.
No, go ahead. Once I say it, then nothing to say it.
No. What I want to add on is, I think another point that made me so last time so strong in thinking this is a weakness is because I remember, like, you know, usually we will like verbally on somebody that we think is quite close to us, like as a friend or what, you know. And what I go through before one is, they know a lot about also when we already they know how we are doing things. So I cannot before is people take for granted and use that to treat us, you know, become like 猥亵, you know, 猥亵. So that one also become one of the reason why I think that way before lah. Even now sometimes that point also quite support me to think this way also whenever I want to open up also, you know, sometimes but lesser because last time maybe say too much but now open already, what people want to say up to them as long as what we do is on the right path. Maybe the thinking problem also Yeah, that's it.
Good.
So I think for Chinese family, they usually taught us to be this way, not to be afraid of anything. Like my father, when I was young, and if I'm afraid of something and I shout, my father will scold me. So I don't think I can show I can be vulnerable.
Very good. Thank you for your admission. And also, I think you say one thing about our Chinese Asian culture. I fully agree with you. Because why my father reflects this kind of, my father reflects one. My father don't show emotion, because emotion is vulnerability. Don't show the weak emotion. I would say don't show emotion. You only show the angry emotion, the firm emotion, but the weak emotion like crying, like being sensitive, like being compassionate, like very being, you know, my father don't show one. Okay, I can relate with Yee Saa. Very good. So the question then is, how should we think? I think most of us.
Something.
Yeah, you of course.
I got opposite problem, or because just now you say showing emotion is one of the vulnerability. I mean one of it, right? Then I feel I show too much already. So people take for granted. It's like people know my pattern already. Then they take for granted. I realize this. Okay.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, so no good. I need to strike a balance, like when to be when to show or when not to. It's also very control, like when to show and when not to. Because when you show too much, is people just yeah.
Okay, Agnes, let me tell you something. I don't see, I honestly tell you, I do not see your emotional expression as a weakness. I do not see. I'll tell you very honestly first.
But in
So
workplace, not like that. For workplace is very direct one ma. It's not like you so kind.
That's why to be honest, I when you workplace, I see you just not being honest. That means you hide a lot of your vulnerability. Now, not that it's wrong, don't get me wrong. When you come to myth 6, you will understand. Myth 6, the last myth. Okay, once we discuss the last myth, you will understand.
When I work with you, it's like 4 or 5 years back already. Now I give too much. I feel. Okay, yeah, we go on first. We see how we can explore.
So my question is, how should you think? What is the thinking that makes us like this? And what's wrong with it? And how should we think? I mean, this is a thinking. Vulnerability is a weakness, it's a thinking. It's a thinking that for most of us is passed on by our past generation. And we still hold on a bit of it. Or some of us hold on a lot of it. So my question then is, how much of this myth are we still holding in? Are we still believing? So what should we believe? If this is a myth, myth means it's a wrong belief, you know. That's what a myth is. Then what's the right way to think?
Vulnerability is a strength.
Others, come on, let's think, come on. So how should you think?
Maybe vulnerable to the right person, I feel. Because if you simply vulnerable to the wrong person, I personally think people will take it for granted.
It is okay to have emotion? Question mark.
Right person and right time. Wow, very chill. Okay.
Jinny, go and put a question mark. Is it okay to have emotion? Okay, I'm going to speak lah. No, don't need to waste time lah. You can think about it further lah. To me, vulnerability is not a weakness or a strength. It's a wrong conclusion. It's trying to relate vulnerability. You're trying to measure vulnerability wrongly. Vulnerability is a reality. That's all. Finish. We are a human being. Okay? We are a human being and with all kinds of quality or characteristics. And we all go and measure the characteristics, some as strong, some as weak. But how do you decide whether a characteristic is strong or a characteristic is weak? This is human measurement. You understand what I'm trying to say? We all can die. We all can get sick. That's why there is the risk. The risk of uncertainty that we will get sick and we will die. That we can get hurt and get in an accident and then can die. Correct? Or we can get hurt in an accident and then we are left impaired. Now that is reality. So do you call this reality a weakness? So in certain situations, it creates a negative effect. If vulnerability, okay, let's say vulnerability, okay, we feel pain. You remember the gift of pain? I think for some of us, we have gone through the book Gift of Pain. So is pain good or bad? Of course it's bad, but it's good. So it's neither good nor bad. Pain is a system in life. It's a system in life. When we feel pain, right, it is there to remind us that something is wrong. So it's an expression of something bad. But the expression of something bad, right, is a gift to help us know that something bad is happening so that we can do something about it. So it's good. So to me, pain is neither bad or good. So in certain circumstances, right, that's why vulnerability, our physical vulnerability, right, it is the one that can cause us to get hurt. So is it good or bad? Bad. But because we recognize our vulnerability, the reality that we have this is who we are, right? We become careful, right? And we go around be careful physically so that we don't get ourselves hurt. So recognizing the vulnerability gives us the advantage to be careful. So to me, vulnerability is a reality of humanity. Within the context of what situation you are in, then you may measure it as good or bad. You may measure it as a weakness or a strength. If vulnerability hinder us because the uncertainty and the risk creating a fear, and then that fear paralyze us from doing what needs to be done, then it's bad. But that's the reality. But within that context, if it paralyzes us from doing what needs to be done, then it has this bad effect lah. So the vulnerability became a weakness. But in a relationship, right, our lack of vulnerability become a weakness. Because then a lack of vulnerability is lack of authenticity. Once you fail to admit your uncertainty and your sense of insecurity, because we are human, we need things, we need other people, then we fail to express it, then we are blocking ourselves, then we are hindering the relationship. So vulnerability is a good thing. It's an expression of authenticity. So vulnerability should never be seen as weakness or strength. It's not. It's just a fact of who we are. So this is the problem with our thinking. If we think that we are God and we are Superman, then we are in trouble. Then we will deny our vulnerability because we have to live up to the fact of what we believe. If we believe we are Superman, then vulnerability is not the characteristic of Superman. So we deny vulnerability because we have a wrong perception. It's a wrong thinking of who we are. So vulnerability helps us then to remind us that we are not Superman. We are human beings with certain limitation, right? And that limitation, if we don't watch out for, right, brings about risk and uncertainty. That limitation, that's what limitation is. Limitation means uncertainty and risk. So that's why vulnerability is a weakness is wrong. You cannot make a general statement like that. Vulnerability is reality. That's my statement. To me, if I want to change this statement, I will change it to this, simply this. Vulnerability is just reality reflecting humanity. Reminding me that I am human, that I am created like this. Neither weak nor strong. with this characteristic, this quality of what human being is. Hello. No response. Please give me some response. Yes, no, understand, no,
Yeah.
understand, agree, don't agree.
Yeah,
Agree,
reflecting.
sir.
Reflecting.
Mr. Edmund, I'm Charlize, yeah. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
I really like what you said about vulnerability being part of humanity, because I think every human, they will definitely have their own vulnerabilities. And I think of something very interesting, that is, when people say someone has no vulnerabilities, we tend to imagine, for me, I tend to imagine something like a assassin character in the movies, where they don't have family, they have nothing to live for, basically. So I think as long as someone has something to live for, they will definitely have that intrinsic vulnerability, and it is part of being human. And actually, while thinking of what Agnes said earlier about vulnerability in the workplace, right? I think one key part is to not mix up vulnerability with boundaries. And I think boundaries, especially professional or personal boundaries, those are very important to uphold at the same time while you are being vulnerable.
Very well said. Very good. We will discuss this in Miss 6. Okay, others? Very good, very good. How old are you, Sufei?
I'm 20. I turned 20 this August lah.
Very good. Your thinking is very fast.
Thank you, thank you. Because actually, I recently, I not very happy in my family. Actually, my parents, they fight a lot since I was 17 years old. Something happened between their relationship. So I think through these 3 years, I learned a lot. And actually, I told my parents that I'm very hurt by them. Just recently, actually, this previous weekend, right? I actually sort of run away from home, I left home for 2 nights lah. So actually, but I left home, I didn't run away. I did tell my parents that hi, I'm living with a friend, because my parents, since 2018, they would fight on and off, and I don't want to cast any judgment on my parents, but they are quite manipulative, very manipulative couple, my parents. I'm able to have this observation of my parents because I have observed it for a very long time, and I also know some psychology lah. So they are very manipulative tactics, and I personally, I cannot tahan being in the middle like that. So just this time, I'm very lucky that I have the means to leave home. Some young people, they do not have the the resources or the ability to be able to leave a toxic space. So anyway, when I had the opportunity, I just took it, and I told my parents through the group chat that I'm staying with a friend at a safe place, and I told them that I would like them to stop fighting. I said, if mommy and daddy can resolve things as adults, then I would be most happy to join them back again at our main house lah. So I think this is what prompted me to talk about boundaries, and that is finally, for the first time in my life, I'm actually drawing a clear boundary to my parents, saying that this is very toxic behavior, and as an adult that is developing and at their home, living at their home since she was 17, I'm drawing this boundary with them saying that they cannot keep treating me this way, because I have tried to communicate with my parents before, saying that I told my mom, Mommy, do you know that when you do this, etc., it actually really hurts me? And actually my mother, she won't acknowledge that she hurt me. She said, no, we didn't hurt you. No, you're being too sensitive. So it's fine. I actually have tried to communicate with her a lot of times on this matter, saying that what they are doing is hurting me. But because of her, I don't know, because of her own lifestyle or her own mentality, she cannot see it, then it's okay. I think when people don't recognize how they hurt us, it's fine. The most important thing is what we do to resolve the feelings inside of ourselves. And for me, what I decided to do is actually just to leave home and to show them that I actually have the means to do that, and they should start acting like adults. Actually, I don't want to say it in such a bad way, but sometimes my parents really a bit childish, and this is not something that I come to a conclusion. Oh, yesterday that I do it today. Actually, no. I actually spend quite a lot of time and money, my own money, by seeing therapists and actually talking to people. So, and that's how I have this conclusion today, and that's how I perhaps know what to do. Otherwise, I don't think I would have this direction. So definitely, this is not my own idea. I'm not born so mature and smart, but I think it also took a lot of time and effort for me to go and I don't know, sometimes because whenever I talk to therapists or some older people, people with life experience, then I think it's hard for me to have to admit that, hey, I am taking the brunt for my parents' inability to get along. So that's why I
you're
have
right.
a lot of
You're
thoughts.
right.
Yeah.
Good. Glad that you didn't take the negative road. This is you have taken a positive road, which is good, a more constructive road. You will see that there are people who have taken a more destructive road. That means they blame and then, yeah. Good. Keep at it. Keep at it.
Thank you.
Very good. Anybody else? Anything else? If not, we got to miss 2 already. Okay.
So
Now,
I never see William vulnerable before.
Knowing William's family background, not easy for William.
I talk to Yee Saa night time.
Don't worry. Actually, for you just be real, just recognize this. Okay. Vulnerability is different thing to different people. So don't how to say, don't generalize vulnerability to everybody the same way. You understand what I'm saying? Because vulnerability is the reality of recognizing our limitation as a human being. But always bear in mind that the limitation of our human being is very much got to do with 2 things: our nature and our nurture. Because the reality or the insecurity or the limitation that we have gone through for each one of us is also related to our personality, our nature. If you all have gone through the DISC, you have recognized D, I, S, and C all have different sense of insecurity one. So obviously they express differently, but also because nurture, our family background, the experience that we have gone through, and so don't expect your expression of vulnerability. Don't expect it onto other people. Allow them to progress. So recognize their progress in the expression of authenticity in their own way. Okay? So William, don't worry.
Thank you, sir, for asking.
actually, William has improved a lot compared to the time 2016 when I go to Hong Kong. At the beginning part to now, very different already. I progressed maybe a lot thanks to Yee Saa. You continue to help him, okay?
Continue to
But I
make
don't know
his
what
heart.
he's thinking.
Huh?
But I don't know
What do you say?
what he's thinking.
It's not easy for him to But he's already trying. Actually, he's already trying. I have seen him trying when I was there in Hong Kong. That time I also see him. Then now through this group also I can see he's trying. So you tell him I want to know what you're thinking. Tell him. Get him to
No talk, no marriage.
yeah. Or maybe you next time set a rule. Now it's no talk, no marriage. Then next time married already, no talk, you don't come to bed.
He said he got nothing to think. I asked him, Mom, he said he got nothing to think. And okay, I just let it be.
Well, maybe he got nothing to think. Maybe that's true. So you have to accept lah. Maybe he got nothing.
But I feel not low. I also feel that he got a lot of things inside too deep already. Then he don't know where to correct. Then he don't know how to release. It's like
Hey, wait.
maybe he also don't know. Ayo.
Hey, Yee Saa and Agnes, let me ask you one question. What if you are wrong? What
Prove me
if
wrong.
I'm not saying you are wrong, but what I'm saying is, what if you are? Then you are
Prove us
pressuring
wrong.
me.
Bye. So bad lah. No lah, we can sense one ma. We are
William,
sensitive
you
people.
owe me a
Okay.
you owe me a Starbucks coffee already. I'm defending you.
Aiyo. Okay lah. Find time to
Oh,
talk.
you both split mine together. Oh, sorry. My ear burst already. Split. Okay.
Okay, anything else?
I think
Okay.
don't force William, okay? Slowly let it, okay? When time come, he want to talk, he will talk one. Need some time, William, don't force.
Wow, William, what a guy defending you lah.
Good. Give me 5. Okay.
Yes, fine.
I'm just thinking sometimes really what it's like, yeah, maybe sometimes you got a lot of things to talk so yes, but then when after maybe just maybe this is not final. It's like after work we feel like okay, we don't want to talk about other things already. Just relax down, then come. But when we want to talk, then we will talk one. Don't force. But you can
Exactly.
I think
Exactly.
I think no problem to ask lah. I mean, it's fair enough to ask. You can ask, but no, don't force that you can 100% get the answer. It's like okay, when time come, okay, I will say like this. So just saying lah. Don't fight. You do
Is it because you guys like don't want to bring the stress to your Ling-Yi-Pan also? Then also afterward you don't want to think about work thing anymore. Could be this, right? One of the reasons.
The later one.
Yes, based on the book, it says the cave. Always remember, once a man entered the cave, you ask that the wrong timing. When the man in the cave, actually when the man is in the cave, he switched off already. He's not thinking about anything. Okay? He's not thinking about anything. He's in the cave. It's a switch off time. So when you ask a man in the cave, then he got nothing to tell you. I realize this a lot. So you have to when women ask the wrong time, actually when they ask the time, I'm already in the cave lah. I already don't want to think already. I nothing. I already switched off already. And then you go and ask, why? Actually, nothing. Because at that moment in time, already nothing. It's over. You already shut it. You already, I'm already in my cave. Wrong timing. Have to recognize that. I think for men, when we are in the cave, we don't. When it's over, we have already settled. Our mind already settled. Okay, now mind. This one will be another study. You all have to study the difference. The book on men are from Mars, women are from Venus. You have to study the book. So Yee Saa, you can read the book to understand William. Man from Mars,
Okay.
a woman from Venus.
But from the way you said nothing, I trust you guys already, because it's exactly the same when he said nothing and the way you said nothing. It's exactly the same.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, William, high five again.
Yeah, high five. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Miss 2, please. High five.
Okay, I'm going to go
Okay.
to Miss 2. I will continue with Miss 2. Why I want to continue with Miss 2? Remember Miss 1, what I say about Miss 1? Miss 1, I changed the word. In Miss 1, vulnerability is weakness. I change it, right? Vulnerability is reality because of our humanity. Now then, if we go to Miss 2, then it becomes very wrong. Then I don't do vulnerability. But if vulnerability is a weakness, then I don't do weakness. But if vulnerability is reality, I don't do reality. That means you are very fake. Can you see that? That's why the Miss 1 and the Miss 2 are related one. You see the connection between Miss 1 and Miss 2? If you think wrongly about vulnerability as a weakness, then it's quite natural. Of course, I don't want to be weak. What? I don't want. The world is so tough. And people out there fighting. The world out there sometimes, very often, it's like war, a rat race. So I cannot be weak. If I weak, I sure lose in the rat race. I sure lose in the war. Right? So if vulnerability is reality, if you go out to work, whether in the world or not, right? I need to do reality. Because once I don't do reality, I'm going to lose in the real world. I'm going to create a fake world. Can see the connection between 1 and 2? That's why if we go to work very often, if people, we say that people are practice, how to say, the culture is still treating vulnerability as a weakness in the workplace. Then in the workplace, they don't admit to making mistake. That's why I don't do vulnerability. I don't admit my weakness. I don't admit. Because why? If I admit my weakness, if I admit that I'm not good at this, then I'm not going to get a job. I'm not going to get promoted. So I do also must pretend. That's why there's a saying. I fake it until I make it. There's this saying. I fake until I make. A lot of people like that, you know. I've seen even through Elizabeth training, image consultant. That's what people are doing. They are pretending to be, thinking that that's what they need to be to succeed in this world. So they are not like that, but they pretend to be like that, and they fake being like that, and they fake it until people think that they are like that. And to me, I feel very sorry for them. Why? Because I think it could be very tiring. Faking is tiring. To me, I always view faking as tiring. Every time you fake, you feel very tired. At the end of the day, especially you go out to work 8 hours a day, and in the office, you're faking it all the time, you know. That's what I don't do vulnerably is doing. If I pretend to be strong all the time, the whole 8 hours, I'm you know, I behave like a Superman when I'm not. Then I keep you know, lifting my head and be, you know, showing my Superman for 8 hours. Okay, comment, input.
I think I can really understand lah. So what you said just now, yeah, because now this is my problem also lah. At work also, I try to not to make mistake lah. Like because make mistake also is considered like my vulnerability that if like I'm not good enough, not competent enough. So yeah. So
But notice that this is a culture. It's a culture. Sometimes you have no choice. If the culture is a fake it, if my boss is a fake it culture, that's why the boss is very crucial. If the boss is a fake it type, you charm, you work under the fake it type, you also have to fake it. You don't fake it, then they will pick on you all the time. That's what fake it does, you know. When you fake it, how do you you see, if I'm faking it all the time, I'm the boss, I'm faking it. The only way that I can come out, because when I'm faking it, that means I'm stepping on weakness, you know. I'm picking on the weakness, you know. Of course, when the weakness shows itself, I'm going to pick it. I have to pick on them. I have to, because I'm faking it. Because I believe that no, weakness is not allowed. So I have to fake it. I have to pick it. The faking forced me to pick on this weakness. So the people who don't fake it and show the weakness cannot pick on, or very teruk. And that's the reality of the culture today. You will notice this happening in the most culture, not all, a lot of work culture, honestly. Which is why a lot of places also eventually, after fake for a while, you notice that, especially those people in YMAT anyway, when we go through and then we are told to be, you know, to discover our full potential, and then we go there and then we have to fake it. We feel very tired, and then after a while we want to change job already. Correct?
Yeah.
Hey, sir. Wait, Pei want to say something.
Go on.
Hey, I want to ask, what if that person...
You are too far away. Go nearer to the mic again. Very soft.
Hello.
Yes.
What if that person, he know that is a weakness, but he choose not to admit? Then what should we do? Or how? You get me? Hello.
Always bear in mind, without admission, there is no forgiveness or correction. You can't correct somebody who don't acknowledge. You can't forgive somebody who don't admit. Correct or not? How do you say I forgive you when I didn't ask for your forgiveness? You cannot forgive a person who don't need your forgiveness. You cannot. It doesn't work that way. If you say also say I forgive you, what? This is short sendiri only. Forgiveness is about the other person. You forgive the other person that need to be forgiven. That means the person owe you for doing something wrong. That's why you forgive. Okay, I cancel. I accept the loss that you created on me. I accept it. That's why it's called forgiveness. Forgiveness requires you to just swallow the loss. That means you do something wrong, you create me to lose something. Then I say, I forgive you. That means, okay, never mind, you don't have to repay me for the loss you created. But if the person don't admit, no, I didn't create anything that you lose, then what is there to forgive? Cannot. So in reality, if there is a weakness and if the person doesn't admit and acknowledge, then that you cannot forgive or you cannot correct. Not that you're not willing to forgive, you know. It's two different things, you know. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay, I get it. But then,
yeah,
but before go to that, it's still our job to depend on the situation. I mean, it's still our job to confront and let the person know, before let them choose whether they want to admit or not, right?
Yes. and no.
Depend on situation Not all the time we need to confront I mean the situation that is our job scope that we need to confront, then we need to go and do first before see the person admit or not, no, right?
Yes, if it is your responsibility, if it's within your responsibility to ensure that there's no further problem, then yes, you have to confront because that is your responsibility. So you have to recognize your boundary first. Is it within your boundary to confront? If it is not, then no. If you are only a colleague in another department, the confrontation is only possible if you recognize that the relationship allows you to confront. But if there's no relationship and there's no any form of relationship where it falls into your boundary to confront. Remember, when we talk about boundary, there are two forms of responsibility in boundary: responsibility for and responsibility to. Right? So we are talking about, in this case, responsibility to. Unless the person falls within your boundary of responsibility, then you are responsibility for. Then confrontation is a responsibility for. But if not, then you have to see whether it's a responsibility to. Chen Wei can understand what I'm saying now?
Yeah, I get it. But then I don't know how to solve it lah, because the person not going to admit it. It's like guessy, don't know. So it's like
is it your responsibility to solve? That's the question.
Yes, consider yes. If he is
then
a
you
yes,
have to solve.
So it's like let him take the consequences. Is it something like this?
Yeah. Then you have to let him take. You are letting him take the consequences because the weakness on his part create a problem that is within your responsibility to solve. Then you have to create a system in which his weakness will have consequence. It must, because if you are the supervisor, if let's say I'm a manager of a staff and the staff has a certain weakness, then it is my responsibility to ensure that the weakness is overcome, because it affects the performance of the scope in which I am responsible for. So I can train the person, right? There are a few ways I can train the person, which is the constructive side, or I can discipline the person, or I can sack the person. Which is a very harsh one. And usually in that order. First thing you do is train them. Second thing you do is discipline them. The last thing you will do is sack them.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
I am guilty of that. Haha. Nothing much for me. Other. Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Everybody? Otherwise, I pass it back to Yee Saa for mystery.
Okay, sir. Okay, for the third one, I can go it alone. You cannot do vulnerability without engaging with others. Humans are a social animal. By being able to cooperate with other members, make Homo sapiens the dominant species on the planet. We are neurobiologically hardwired for the connections with other people. In the absence of connections, love and belongings, there's always suffering. You cannot go it alone. If you could, I would have found a way by now. As a shy extrovert who suffers evaluations, apprehensions, who loves my friends and family, but is a bit communicate on others people, I would have found a way. If we are sharing, if we are sharing our deepest hurt or struggles with someone who hasn't earned the right to hear our story, this isn't vulnerability. It might be an attempt to hotwire connections or get unmet need acknowledged, but the boundary inherent to true vulnerability are not present when we overshare. So, how do you feel when someone shares too much information? It repels us, doesn't it? It does the exact opposite of what vulnerability does, which is create deeper connections and trust. Trust is built over time, experience by experience. We can't speed up the process by divulging more of ourselves than a relationship is ready to hold. That's awesome.
Okay, that one more related to myth 5. Just now you say one, Yee Saa. I think in myth 3, again, is our mindset about what a human is. I think again is a mindset. When I read myth 3, I can go it alone. It's where human beings have a wrong understanding of what it means to be human. The first thing I go back to is Genesis creation. That's the first thought. And I can't help going back to Genesis record of when God created Adam. When God created the earth, the plant, the earth, the water, the air, the plants, the animals, all the creatures, and then God created everything, Every time, every day, when God created something, God said it's good. Okay? And when God created everything already, he says it's good. But then, if you read that chapter, Genesis, you carefully, suddenly there's one no good. Everything is good. And then suddenly, you will see God saying, it's not good for man to be alone. So if not, that's God's creation. God's creation, when God created human being, God didn't God know that, in the formula of God creating human being, God did not create human being to be alone. They're never meant to be alone. That's why built in, that's why what it say here, built in is a built-in thing that we are not meant to be alone. So if you're not meant to be alone, I go it alone, I'm going to get in trouble. The inside cannot, it's not fit. It won't fit. I will get in trouble. I'll get in depression. I will get, because that's not what we are made. That's not the design. The design doesn't fit us to be alone. That's why we are created a social being. We are created to relate, to build relationship. We are relational being. So if we go it alone, we're going to go counter to the way we are made up. So we will encounter a lot of internal problems. Our internal will go haywire and go cuckoo because that's not inside, not built to do that. Okay, that's why we really weren't born to walk alone. The last statement on this myth, I think this is the first thing we need to bear in mind. And to build the strongest relationship require us to be vulnerable, because the vulnerable reflects authenticity. And the authenticity allows a real connection. It's a connection based on who we really are. And it is through the connection, strength is built. Relationship brings about strength. That's why if you read Proverbs also, it says that when 2 or 3 build that relationship, right? The relationship creates strength. Okay. In Proverbs also say when two travel alone, they are strong. When two travel alone, they can protect each other. When two travel together, two travel alone, two travel together, right? They protect each other. When two travel together, when one fall down, you got someone to help you up. Right? So the constant reflection is you need a relationship to travel your life on earth as a reflection of strength. So relationship is not a weakness. Relationship is meant to be there. That's why, again, this is understanding the reality of humanity. Okay, yeah. However, what if relationship hurts you that badly? Oh, good question. What's the difference between alone and lonely? Anybody want to answer the question? What's the difference between alone and lonely?
Alone mean satu orang loh. Lonely mean banyak orang but you feel lonely loh. Feeling and present ah. Sorry ah.
Yeah, you're quite right. You're quite right. Always remember the 4 dimensions of human being. Alone and lonely reflects the 2 dimensions of the 4 dimensions. Remember the 4 dimensions of human being is heart, soul, mind, and body. Or in other words, the social, emotional, the spiritual, the mental, and the physical. Alone is physical. Lonely is social, emotional. Okay? Here, alone and lonely, nothing to do with spiritual. Alone is just a physical. I'm physically alone. It's a reflection of my physical state. However, lonely is the feeling I have inside, the emotion, it's the description of what's going on in my social, emotional state. I can be alone but not lonely. I can also be lonely but not alone. The situation where you are lonely but not alone, I definitely experienced many times. When I go to a party, but nobody I can connect with. There's a lot of people around me, but I'm lonely. Right? I'm sure some of you have experienced that as well. You want to get out,
Different
but yet
channel.
you can't say to get out, huh?
Different
Sorry?
channel.
Yeah,
Different
yeah.
channel.
When you are in the different channel and everybody, you know, and everybody's laughing and faking it, and then you don't want to fake it, you feel very lonely. You may join them and fake it, but you still feel very lonely, even though you're not alone. But there are times when I'm alone, like right now, I'm alone, but I'm not lonely. Because why? When I'm alone, I'm thinking and I'm reading, you know, I'm praying, right? I'm alone, but I'm not lonely. Okay, does that solve? Does that, yeah?
Sir, but I think we can be alone. Because alone doesn't mean lonely. If we realize, right, usually the smart persons or people with wisdom, they tend to be alone. But when they are alone, they are not lonely because their mind or they're full of everything. Maybe they're thinking some principle or try to relate things. I mean, a lot of thinkings will be running in their head, but that would be something meaningful, but not empty.
Yeah, sure. But that's nothing to do with mystery. Mystery is about going it alone. That means go through your life alone. So Go through your life alone doesn't mean that there isn't a moments where you need to be alone. We need to be alone. Okay, but we cannot go through life alone. Because there are moments that we will need somebody. Because alone, will be nobody to help you with your limitation as a human being. Because we are not created as alone. Because that's why when we are not created to be alone, that means there are vulnerability, there are our limitation that always require somebody else. That's why the idea of Adam and Eve in their compatibility is that Adam's limitation is covered by Eve, and Eve's limitation is covered by Adam. And that's the whole purpose of marriage, by the way. That mutually they can cover each other's limitation to make the family more wholesome. Which is why same gender family cannot work one. Single family also not the best. Because it does not provide the wholeness for the children to grow up in. So in this case, going it alone is not the best. We are not designed to go it alone. We are not designed to go it alone in a family, to start up a family. That's why single parenting is very, it has shown to have more problems for their children. Okay, yeah. That's why maturity, in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, we already said it. Independence is not the reflection. Independence is not the reflection of the highest form of maturity. The highest form of maturity is interdependent. In the maturity continuum, it is dependent, independent, and then interdependent. Okay, the maturity continuum. So going it alone is only in the middle. It's not your most mature state. Of course, if you can go alone, it's better than constantly being dependent. That means you are strong enough to go alone, which is good, but it's not the best. That means you haven't completed your journey. You have not completed your growth. Okay. Okay. Yee Saa, Miss 4.
Yee Saa.
Oh, sorry. I forgot to mute. I forgot to unmute. Sorry, okay.
So you were talking to yourself. Okay.
Yes. All right. Okay. Myth number 4. I can hide vulnerability so that there's no uncertainty or discomfort. A lot of people are high-tech in their life. They are collecting data, trying to hack their thoughts, diets, and relationship. That's what people about leveraging humans' cognition and perceptions. There's no algorithm that will tell you when it's fine to be vulnerable with other people. The minute it becomes comfortable, it's no longer vulnerability. You cannot make an app that removes the discomfort from vulnerability. That's all, sir.
I don't really understand this one. What is discomfort
okay.
out of vulnerability?
You see, This myth 4 came about because of industrialization, came about because of engineering or science. We are able to create a lot of things, correct? We manufacture a lot of things, we create a lot of things, we are so good at designing, and now if you notice, we are able to design things that will reduce risk, right? For example, car. Do you realize that we have engineered risk and discomfort in our car? People are designing better seats so that now when we sit in the car, we're more comfortable. The latest one, do you realize the latest one is Tesla? Tesla have engineered comfort in the car until the person don't have to drive anymore. The person just sit back and allow the car to cruise. It has an AI cruise, artificial intelligence cruising. That means on the highway, the driver literally don't have to drive. But in law, they are not allowed to go to sleep lah. But they are supposed to just put their hand on the wheel and the car will drive itself. They can relax. They somehow built in all the sensors so that when the car in front brake and certain distance from the car, the car will brake automatically and the car will stay in the correct lane and the car will continue cruising. So we have already engineered discomfort and risk in all the product. So somehow human being, we think that we can engineer what's going on inside us as well. That's why he says we can engineer the uncertainty and discomfort out of vulnerability. We are talking about human vulnerability. I think this is again wrong mindset. We can always engineer in all of our creation. The things we created, we are the creator. So let's say for car is our creation. We can build in, we can engineer it. That means we can design. Engineer means what? Engineer means design it. We can design and build into it. That's what called engineering. Okay, we design and build it. But sorry, we are not our own creation. I did not create my human body. I did not create my own humanity. That's why there's a difference between system vulnerability versus relational vulnerability. The vulnerability in the product we make, in the car, for instance, has a certain risk and uncertainty. Aeroplanes have certain risk and uncertainty. All the vehicle and all the transport system, even our handphone also got certain risk or uncertainty. Why? The whole handphone can heat up and blow up in our face and then burn us. Correct? All the things we design and we create have certain risk and vulnerability, and we will continue to design and build, rebuild and redesign the things so that the risk and weakness become less and less and less and less and less and less and less. We can develop, we can engineer system, we can engineer and reduce system vulnerability, but we cannot engineer and reduce relational vulnerability. Why? Relational vulnerability depends on our humanity, and we did not design and create our humanity. So who can reduce our relational vulnerability? God, because God is the creator, designer. But then if God sees this vulnerability as something good in humanity, there's no reason why he would want to change that, to reduce it. Does that make sense? So the myth is wrong This thinking that we can reduce our relational vulnerability, the feeling of vulnerability inside us, we can reduce it, is based on a wrong mindset, thinking that because we can only reduce it in our creation. Our humanity is not our creation, so we cannot reduce it. So again, it's because of a wrong mindset. All this myth is a rise of a wrong mindset, thinking that we have control over our humanity when we don't. Humanity is only a reality. I don't know whether you understand what I'm saying. I'm trying my best to try to.
Clear, understand. Thank you.
Oh, good. This is particularly important in organization. A lot of time, they try to engineer the organization system, communication system, to reduce discomfort and risk, but actually cannot, because human to human cannot. Things can, technology can, things we created can. That's why organizational vulnerability cannot. You actually cannot. The more you try to remove organizational vulnerability among employees, right? What you end up creating is what? An organization that lacks trust. Because an organization that fake one, everybody fake one. Everybody KK one. And such organization cannot perform one because everybody faking it. Relationally faking it. So there's very little trust in the organization. But this is what a lot of organizations try to do. But eventually you feel very fake one inside this organization. The organization feel like robot. They treat each other like robot, but we are not robot, we are human. So you feel the very fake culture, organizational culture. I don't know if you have seen, if you have come across such organization. Yeah. Okay, Ken, if you all can understand, we can go on.
Can and agree if you agree.
Okay, then. Okay, Yee Saa.
Okay,
Now we are talking about the relational. Again, connected, all connected one.
all right. Myth 5, trust comes before vulnerability. That's a hard one to rectify. Should you trust someone before you expose your uncertainty to them? Do you need to be vulnerable before you can learn to trust someone? The answer is yes to both questions. Vulnerability and trust build on each other to form meaningful relationship. And even if there's little to no trust established, we can still let our guard down and become vulnerable with someone. It's a slow stacking of vulnerability and trust over time. You don't tell your darkest secret to someone after you tell them your name. We start with little things and we build trust over time. The more I share with you and the more you honor that sharing, the more trust is built. You share with persons who have earned the right to hear your story, and your story is a privilege to hear. You share it with those who have earned the right to hear it. That's all, sir.
My question for you is this. When do you express vulnerability?
When I am in comfort, I don't know. This is when got choice. If automatic one, automatic one sometimes also will happen now. If I say like this cannot now. I don't know.
So if no comfort, then nobody, no vulnerable, lor. Then everybody squeeze back into their shell like turtle, lor, like tortoise, lor. So everybody go to a meeting, not comfortable. Everybody go pull your head back into the shell. Then everybody like tortoise, all the head inside the shell in their own world. Then how?
I think when someone hit my boundary and I'll become vulnerable.
So you're waiting for someone to cross your boundary, lah, is it? if if nobody take initiative to be vulnerable, then that means nobody initiate. Then what do you think will happen? No trust, huh? Then how? So for you, you think vulnerability, you must gain enough trust to be vulnerable. Is that correct?
This is what you say one the start of the paragraph. I think it's how to say? It's content. Can I say content? I think if I think back lah, last time even not comfort, sometimes I also will vulnerable. It's like I will vulnerable when I want to. I don't know. Confused already now. You make me confused already.
No, I'm just making you rethink. Okay, then why you are willing to be vulnerable at times?
Because less care, because I don't scared or I don't really mind how you guys will react or respond to my vulnerability. Can I say that? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on inside you. This is something for us to think about. If we dare not vulnerable, right? Then what happened? Nothing happened, isn't it? That means you're hoping that other people will be vulnerable first, is it? Have you come across a situation where nobody initiate? In a group, everybody silent, and then nobody dare to, because nobody want to make a fool of themselves and risk saying the wrong thing, and then people misunderstand, so I keep quiet. So everybody also having the same feeling, so everybody keep quiet, because everybody sort of yeah, a lot of times. Who is that? Yvonne. Okay.
I think the one related to single also. Some people single don't care lah, just talk lah. I don't know. What I say I also don't know. Kau lah already.
Okay. Among close friends also got. Yes. There are a lot of this one all tie into mindset. Okay, your mindset. Again, tie into your life mission also. Your mindset and your life mission. Two things very important. Let me just go back to what Chen Wei shared. One is maybe I don't care if I get hurt. It doesn't matter so much. Now, maybe that has got to do with your self-esteem quite high. That means I'm not, my esteem is strong, so I'm not very concerned if other people don't like what I say or disagree with what I say. So my self-esteem strong. That could be one reason. If I'm secure enough and my esteem is strong enough, then I may be able to initiate more, take higher risks, correct? But there's also another reason. Do you think that if I want something bad enough, I may be more willing to take risks? Correct? If I want something bad enough, right? And I see that other people don't initiate, and I know that if other people don't initiate and I also don't initiate, I'm not going to get it. And I want it. I really want it badly. So if nobody initiate, I have to initiate. So I better initiate. Okay? Because the mission means more to me than, so I value it. And so I will take initiative. I will take the risk. So two things I noticed may help us to initiate vulnerability. Our security or our mission. And I begin to realize that this is very important driving force, the mission, to me. Like for me, if I look back in my life, of course, personality also plays a part. But I feel that the stronger motivation is actually my mission. You notice that I initiate a lot. Why I initiate a lot is because of my mission. And I realize that if I don't initiate, then I'm not going anywhere with my mission. And I want to achieve. My meaning in life is related to my mission. And if I don't initiate, then I'm not going to go anywhere with my mission. Then I'm not going to achieve my meaning in life. I cannot achieve anything without initiative. And there's no initiative without risk. There's no such thing as initiative without risk. So initiative always vulnerable one. Always attached with it vulnerability. Because initiative, you do it for the first time, who knows, you will fail. You don't know what other people will say. You don't know, first time you're doing it, you don't know how, what. So to me, that's a driving force for vulnerability. And once vulnerability, if I initiate, right, then for achieving mission, I have the opportunity to build trust. Why? Because then trust will come from two areas. If I'm able to achieve something, people will trust my competency. But when I also initiate, right, then something gets going, the activity that is initiated will become an environment for developing relationship or developing trust. So when I think about trust comes before vulnerability, right? Then if trust comes before vulnerability, you may be in a waiting game. So no, when I read this, it doesn't work for me. I cannot wait for the world. Maybe because my personality like that. I keep waiting. Then I'm wasting my life. So for me, is vulnerability comes before trust. Any input, feedback, comment?
I think quite agree with you lah. But that only can happen when you are very strong on your mission or your purpose of life for me lah. Like how you act lah. Because if the mission is not very strong or the end of the things that you want to achieve not very clear and very strong, it's hard to start vulnerability first, to be honest. But if the mission, I think back, if the mission and the end is very clear, very strong, then yeah, the vulnerability will come before trust. This is what
Not
I think.
necessary.
Not necessary.
Not necessary. I think not the mission. I think it's a desire. I think it's your mindset. Now, if I were to look back in my life 30 years ago, let's say 40 years ago, my mission is not clear lah. Now only clear ma. I think it's my mindset. Faith. I don't know. I also cannot say my faith is strong. What goes on in my mind is simply this. Okay. For me, what goes on in my mind is simply this. Waiting is wasting time. And I have just one life. That's what goes on in my mind. Every time I wait, I'm wasting time. I'm wasting life, in other words. Maybe it's a certain value system or belief I have . Yeah maybe . Which explains why I make a lot of mistakes and I bang a lot of. I bang a lot . But I don't regret all this bang a lot, because I bang a lot, I learn a lot.
Can I say something?
Of course.
Okay. For me now, when I read through this myth 5, I actually tying back to myth 1, that says vulnerability is weakness. So if let's say if I actually believe that vulnerability is weakness, then this myth 5 is also true, because if I just simply vulnerability to talk vulnerability to other people, then I will show my weakness. But that is
okay. Very good.
This is based on me . Because if I believe that vulnerability is weakness, then that's why that I should have trust first, then only I can vulnerability. If not, if I simply talk about vulnerability, that means that I'm showing my weakness to other people. I can only show my vulnerability or equals to my weakness to the people that I trust.
Very good. Okay, very good. Other people? Very good. What does the rest of you think?
For me, this one no issue, because I think about what is the consequences of no trust. I mean, if let's say I really want to go on something, then and end up faces the consequences, or people just betray or anything, then like I for me is okay, I kena, then move on . Rather than like what you say, also miss the opportunity or miss the chance, or yeah. So this is what I think. I trust too much, actually. Sometimes people will scold me. You trust too much.
That means you are easier to trust.
Yeah. Then I ask you if then what's wrong, and also what I will lose if I trust too much. I rather trust rather than I just have the have the block and barrier. Then I don't feel very comfortable that way . choose to trust first, then consequences, then later only see how.
Now, the choices, realize this, the choices you make have certain consequence in your life, how you will live your life. That's why I want to challenge you all to think. Okay. Like Agnes, trust first, then become vulnerable because already trust, already trust. So for me is my choice of vulnerability is my mission. So the mission acts as a so now for QQ, he can see the relationship between how he behave here with the mindset about vulnerability as a weakness. So if vulnerability is a reality of human being, what will you do? Wait until you trust before you're vulnerable, or what?
Question. Then I want to ask if you say trust first, then how high level of trust is considered enough trust for you to really? This is I'm wondering. I mean the trust cannot. It's like first time I'm meeting this person, then I need how long to know that my trust on this person is okay. This person can be fake also. Can I say that?
Yeah.
So
correct,
this is
correct.
also very totong the trust if you want to say trust first. So for me it's like at the end is yourself because the trust there are no certain level you set one. It's like you yourself, you feel okay, trust enough, then go. I mean, okay, I don't know, I'm saying right or not. I just think back if you want to trust, but then what level of trust and what kind of level they are, I don't know.
For me, I will always trust enough to get going, initiate. I won't trust blindly, but I will trust enough to get going. So that if really the other person is fake, I will lose that much. Then I will take it off. 算了吧, and then that become a loss. You lose that much. Not fully trust. I don't think so. It's not fully trust. That's why that's how for me I will trust enough to initiate, to jalan, so that the ball keep rolling. Then when the activity starts, then I can see whether I can trust more or not. That's me because I want to achieve the mission .
Oi, why the rest so quiet? Huh? Steve, William, Hey, Ginny, Yvonne.
Hey, today Steve three no sound. Steve, you okay or not, Steve?
Yeah.
Okay. My line here very bad. So later y'all will hear my sound robot become robot sound later.
Oh, we love Robert sound. We love.
But just now, we talked about the trust and the vulnerability. So let me think. I think that also based on our experience, sometimes we like the person we first time met, but somehow through their conversation, we also can feel that is it fake or vulnerability. So sometimes I think we have to base on our experience also. This is my opinion. Thank you.
Okay, let's go to myth 6 because it's connected to myth 5.
Okay, so vulnerability is disclosure. Vulnerability is not about what kind of details you share with people, whether in person or on social media, but it's about how brave you need to be in order to share those details. This relates to the boundary thing. There's no vulnerability without boundaries. Live streaming your bikini wax is not vulnerability. Posting the intimate details of your divorce and your pain on Facebook for your kids and the guy you met at the party wants to read is not vulnerability. And Brini points out, you do not measure vulnerability by the amount of disclosure. You measure it by the amount of courage it took to show up and be seen when you cannot control the outcome. So there you have it. Don't confuse vulnerability for what is not, and go out there and practice it if you want to live off a wholehearted life. That's awesome.
So this one very important. Vulnerability doesn't mean you tell everything. Vulnerability is merely the recognition of the feeling of uncertainty and risk. Okay, you're not trying to suppress it. That's what's called vulnerability. Vulnerability is when you recognize it, you acknowledge it. So when you recognize it and acknowledge it, doesn't mean that you're going to tell everybody everything. That's a different thing. Make sense? Yeah. That's why if I tie it back to number 5, right? Actually, to me, is what I refer to probably would be smart trust. To me, I will refer to as smart trust. Simply meaning, I recognize, okay, this person I don't know, and there is a risk, and I acknowledge it. Okay, but because I want to achieve the mission, I will take initiative. So, of course, I need a courage. Why? Because I recognize that I don't know this person. So there is a risk that okay, there's a risk of unreliability. So what I will do is I acknowledge it, I take the risk in order to initiate. Why? Because I want to get going. So when I get going, it doesn't mean that I tell everything to the other person. I tell what is necessary to the other person so that at the end, if the other person is not trustworthy, the damage is still limited. So it's smart vulnerability, maybe I would want to call it, or what is called smart trust. Stephen Covey came up with a book called Smart Trust. No, Stephen Covey's son. I think it's Stephen Covey's son. Came up with a book called Smart Trust. To me is, yeah, smart trust connect to smart vulnerability. So this is a very important to make clear. Vulnerability doesn't mean that you simply tell everything. That's not. Vulnerability is simply acknowledging, recognizing, acknowledging the uncertainty, the uncomfortable feeling because of the uncertainty and the risk involved. Okay, any comment, any input, any thoughts, any sharing?
Nope, clear for me.
Clear.
That's why it's quite important to also understand boundary. That's why the book on boundary also very important for those who have gone through. Those who haven't gone through, If you want to go through again, let me know. I think last time we have done it, but one group, I don't know whether one or two group have gone through. Two group have gone through the book of boundary before. So quite a lot of people have gone through the book of boundary, but very good, the book, the boundary. Very useful to understand boundary. Okay, yeah.
Okay, I think Yee Saa, you can go on to the exercise, right?
So I have a question. So how are we going to be vulnerable, and what's the appropriate level of vulnerable we should do if we are vulnerable?
What's the appropriate? I think you see, vulnerability requires courage. And courage requires that your life is anchored, is secured lah. I don't think you can find consistent courage when your life is not secure. So the question then becomes, where do you find your security? It is difficult. It is difficult to handle vulnerability when you are insecure. It's just very difficult. Because you're already insecure and you're trying to find security. You know, everything around you is shaking. And you find yourself floating. And of course, when you find yourself floating, you want to find an anchor and anchor yourself down so that you are stable. You don't shake and you don't fall. And so if you are still unstable, and yet you encounter uncertainty and risk, it's going to add to your instability. Of course, you don't want. It's a natural thing, right? So you will try to deny. Life is vulnerable. Why is life vulnerable? Because we all die, right? That is the reminder of our vulnerability. But for me, that is no longer a threat, so great a threat. That is no longer so great a threat because my mind is focused on life after death. Does that make sense? You see, to me, that is not as threatening as to a lot of other people. That is not as threatening to me as I've seen to a lot of people. A lot of people fear death. Now, I don't say that I don't fear death, but I don't fear that like that. I have a certain part of me that welcomes death. So the fear of death is not so strong. So if the fear of death is not so strong, then the vulnerability of life, which is expressed in death, which is emphasized through death, then it's not so fearful. It's not so scary. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question, Yee Saa?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So got a lot to do with your philosophy of life, your mindset or your paradigm. The way where is your life anchored on? What is life? What is your perspective of life? What is your expectation of life? Because it's very important. We all want something out of life. And what are we looking for out of life? We want to get what we want out of life, right? We want to get something out of life. If what we want to get out of life is so unstable, then it's so uncertain, then we are unstable. And if we are unstable, do we dare to face uncertainty, more uncertainty? No. Then this is where willful blindness come in. We don't want. We will fake it because our body cannot handle. Yeah. So to me, I think of where your mind is set. In other words, your belief system, your mind is set, your philosophy of life. That's why a lot of people that focus their life on themselves. That's why, where is your mind anchored onto? If you anchor onto your own self, very scary, you are too small. You are too small. You are too weak. Because we are not Superman, we are not God. We are human. If we anchor our whole expectation on myself, and I know my limitation, and I know my weakness, and I've seen how I have failed, and yet I anchor my life onto myself, knowing my own weaknesses and my failure. What? How strong can I be? How stable can I be? I know my weakness. I cannot be stable. I cannot be. That's why for me, honestly, I anchor myself onto God. I have to fix my eyes onto God. I have to keep reminding myself, hey, my life is there because God. Then my life is anchored onto, is connected to, is anchored onto, is chained to something far bigger than me and far more powerful than me. Because this God is the one who created the whole, he created my life, not only my life, all the lives and all the world. And so it's a very powerful thing. And so I'm anchored onto this powerful thing, and this powerful thing is stable. So because I'm anchored onto him, I'm chained to him, then I'm more stable. I still shake around and go up and down because of, but because of the chain that I keep focused and I keep hooking myself onto God, I won't go very far. Does that make sense? So to me that's why to me is the mission. My mission basically is this. My mission is I want to achieve as much as I can for creating value that matters after this life. I want to remind myself that, okay, am I the words that the Bible says very simply is this. Let me just quote what motivates me. That has been there for years. This has been there for years. It says this. He says, lay for yourself treasure in heaven. In other words, I'm trying now to create value with my life, not the value that is valuable in this earth. I'm trying to create value that is valuable after I die, to wherever I go. So that when I go there, what I've done here already prepare for me some things of value there. And because of that, I find myself, that's why I want to say, I say, no, I want to do more so that I can, my mission is to do more and create more of this value after life. the afterlife value, not the world value. And so I don't want to waste. So I take initiative. I take initiative, vulnerable, never mind. Does that make sense? That this is how I, again, got to do with mindset, your frame, your reference, your frame of your mindset, your philosophy of life, your your belief. Does that answer your question, Yee Saa? Very good question, actually.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Always boils down to your core, what I call philosophy of life. That means what life is all about. What is life all about for you? That determine what you want to exchange your life for. What value do you want to create through your life? Because we all have this, Hey, by the way, you have to realize this. Every human being is exchanging their life for something. Everybody. Everyone in this group is also exchanging life for something. Everybody we know out there, our parents also exchanging their life for something. Some is exchanging their life for some other people to love them. Some people are exchanging their life to create a family and children so that the children can love them. Some people are exchanging their life for a lot of property and a lot of money, a lot of gold, a lot of power, a lot of pleasure. We all are. That's your philosophy of life, and so your philosophy of life will determine what is of value that you will exchange your life to create. Some people are trying to create security. In other words, whatever they think is secure in this life, and they will try to exchange their life for these things that will help them to get security. Oh, yeah. And that's the driving force of your life. Eventually, you will live out your life like that, based on that. That's why for YMAC, we always say this one, the first lesson, as we think, we are. As we think, we will live out the life to achieve that. As we think life is for, what is valuable in life, what I want to live my life for, what is life for, that is the way I will act out in my life to achieve that, to gain that thing that we think is valuable. Okay, good question. And all I can answer is my own experience, my own reference point. Okay, any others? But at least you know how it works, psychologically or actually, by the way, it's a little bit in psychology. This is cognitive behavior therapy. No, this is cognitive behavior theory. It's the cognitive, the way you think, that creates the life you live, behavior. Okay, yeah. And so the way I think life is, right, is creating the behavior, the lifestyle that I live, and the decisions that I make.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Eman, for the deep sharing again.
Thank you for the deep question.
I think Yee Saa need to wrap up now because late already.
Oh, yes. Late
Yee
already,
Saa
very late.
Yee Saa wrap up.
Well, I got nothing to wrap up. Like Mr. Emmon already wrapped up.
Oh,
Done.
then how about the exercise thing? Are we need to do?
Yeah.
No, right?
Yeah. Next week we do.
So we just prepare, go home and at least read through.
Yeah. Correct. Please go home and do your workbook. what exercise go through?
Got
Next week we
two.
will cover the. We'll try to cover both the question. I think only 2 questions, right?
Got 2 part actually. It's 2 part. I think quite easy to understand lah. I think we can stick the note the Jindy last time recommend one, the note thing also. The note I don't know what note, I forget what's the name already.
Yeah. We go on with that note.
Yeah, I don't understand
Alright.
Understand then we proceed
How to create the note
Okay,
thingy.
okay.
Hey, yeah lor.
Me.
Jindy, can you help
Can we help create note?
Need to create one, right? Need to create the first one, right?
Yeah, I need to create.
Yeah, that one is in Jamboard. Google, as long as you got Gmail, you can create it. Maybe I can share Yee Saa the link, then you can explore and see. If you need my help,
Yeah.
just let me.
Actually. Thanks, yeah.
No problem.